I've had a pretty good year so far in terms of reading. At the time of recording this, we're at the end of the first week in February, and I have read 13 books, I believe. And of those 13 books, I've enjoyed 11 of them. This is not one of them. Well, when I say this is not one of them, that may be being a little bit harsh, but I might actually be being too generous for this book. So 2389 caught my attention because I have seen many covers on the Kindle store for books by Iain Wright, and they all look horror-tastic. And I am a lover of sci-fi horror. Specifically, I write it, and I love the Alien movies and Terminator and all these things. So I saw the cover for this, and I think it's a reissued cover because the original cover is garbage. I think this is a reissued one, and it caught my attention. Now, the story is essentially that there has been a theme park built on the moon. That's as basic as I can put it. There's a theme park on the moon that is where all the rich and well-to-do people go to relax and take their families. And it's been in operation for 10 years by this point. It cost 80 billion to make, and it's just about making it back after 10 years. But something's gone wrong, and they've lost all communication with the theme park. So a small team of 6 people, I believe, are sent up to investigate what's gone wrong and try and figure out why the technology has gone amiss and why they can't talk to anybody. Now, that premise alone is very interesting, and I was very excited for that. But that's kind of where it ends for me. So, as I'm sure you can figure out, something has gone horrifically wrong on the station at this theme park. And it's not a case of the technology failing, it's the fact that there's nobody left to use it. Now, the problems I have with this book start fairly early on. The association which sends these people up to check out the theme park are called SABA, which is American and British astronauts. However, throughout the entire book, the British and American astronauts are referred to as cosmonauts. Now, it doesn't take a lot of research to know, if you don't know already, that cosmonauts is an exclusively Russian term. Always has been, always will be. So that was very irritating on an OCD level. This book is one of the most predictable books I've ever read as well. So there were no surprises whatsoever in this book. None. I figured the whole thing out as it was going along really quickly. I knew fairly early on that it was going to be, and I'm not saying this is a spoiler because I believe it's in the blurb, it's basically space zombies. And being in space, I was hoping for sort of a unique take on the zombie trope, and we didn't get it. Bog standard zombie fare. There's nothing special about them, even though they're in space. The characters are on the moon, so the gravity is lower, and yet they're all exhausted and knackered from walking and running around. It's taking them a long time to navigate, even though the gravity is lower. No, it does not have an artificial thing to make it like Earth's gravity before you get on. The characters, for the most part, are forgetful, but, you know, it's... The main character is a bit whiny, and then she comes into her own, which is cool. The dad is not really interesting. The super-duper pilot has cringy dialogue and dodgy one-liners. It just was massively lacking in, well, quite a lot. I think probably one of the biggest problems I have with this book is the title. Now, the book is called 2389. The story is not set in 2389. It's set in the 2090s. Nobody mentions the year 2389 at all. At no point do we go into the future to 2389. And nowhere, anywhere, does the year 2389 exist, is mentioned or referred to at any point. So I have no idea why it's called 2389, because it's not in the book. Ever. At all. I also found that there were quite a few typos in this book, and this book's been out for nearly 10 years. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. It's had a new cover, but it hasn't had an updated edit. And I don't find myself wanting to read any more of the author's books, which is really sad because there are a lot of them, and I was really thinking about trying to get into one of his series because the descriptions are fantastic. The descriptions drag you in, but then it's almost like it's bigging the story up to be something that it can't live up to. And I think that's a little bit of what it's guilty of here. So for me, this was a 3-star, but I do feel like I'm probably being a bit generous with that, which pains me to say, but I've got to be honest when I'm reviewing these books. Yeah, it doesn't make me want to read another one. Let's put it like that. It was entertaining enough to keep me reading to the end, but again, it was only a short story, 200-ish pages. So if it was 400 pages, I probably would have DNF'd it. Anyway, on that depressing note, I shall leave you, and I shall see you in the next one, where hopefully we have something a little more upbeat.